In this edition, Oliver Riggle looks at the state of home sales in New Mexico.
And Ana Sanchez reports on organizations that are trying to ensure the rights of migrants in the United States. Richard Schaefer will also have some surprising local statistics about that.
Plus, Danielle Bloch shows us how some planners are envisioning an ideal campus for UNM. I'm Justin Goodrum.
And I'm Katixa Mercier. All these stories coming up now on Campus Report.
Local coverage. Student perspectives. At the University of New Mexico. From the KNME studios, this is Campus Report.
According to the 2000 census, the per capita income of each man, woman, and child living in New Mexico was slightly over $17,000. That figure was about 25% lower than the national average. But despite the state's lower salaries and income, 7 out of 10 New Mexicans have been able to buy houses rather than rent. That home ownership rate exceeded the national average because local housing prices have not risen much during the recent housing bubble. Oliver Riggle reports on the state of local housing now that the nationwide bubble has burst.
In recent years, the national economy has been in what's described as a recovery, fueled by low rates, high employment, and a bull market. As a result, home sales have skyrocketed in many parts of the country and enjoyed a modest increase in others. Now, with said economic recovery slowing to a stop, there's growing concern that the decrease in home sales and new home building will have negative effects on the economy and are telltale of woes set to impact New Mexico as well. Mark Fedler is a real estate broker in Rio Rancho and says there's more to the news of the declining home sales than meets the eye.
Well, first thing to understand is that real estate is local. What the national press reports is having an effect locally because people don't read thoroughly. They hear that nationwide this is occurring because of this and this. And frankly, the Albuquerque market is somewhat insulated. And what we're experiencing now is an adjustment. It's a normal part of the real estate cycle that is directly related to the economic concept of supply and demand.
In fact, he goes on to explain that for the most part, the rate at which home sales and new home building has declined is directly related to how they have increased over the last few years.
There's a lot of parts of the country where it's much, much worse. I was just in Las Vegas. They've been seeing double-digit decreases, but at the same time, they had double-digit increases for years. So correction and cycles are a normal part of the real estate market. There are a lot of places in the country that are much, much worse. Again, comparing to the national average, I don't think is useful. I'd say as the metro area, if you combine the Northeast Heights area, anything say east of the Rio Grande versus the west side, we're only going to see a small decline here on average. Overall, we're in good shape here. We just have to readjust our sights a little bit so that we know what to expect in the next few years.
So perhaps it all makes sense. The parts of the country that had the biggest gains now have the biggest losses. But what about resale homes? The instances where a homeowner has built some equity in their home and has now decided to sell it and move. Qualifying broker Michael Wilshire talks about what a resale home seller can expect.
Appraisals are time sensitive. They are done at a certain moment in time for a certain purpose. The question is, what has the market done recently which can establish values? You may not have gained a tremendous amount of value, but you may find as a home seller that what you've gained is more time on the market. And that's maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing.
So maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and although opinions vary, Wilshire is optimistic for the future.
Personal opinion? No seer, no prophecy, just personal opinion. I think in 18 months the market will be significantly up from where it is now. We've been going through this for some time. It just takes everybody a long time to understand that that is what's happening. So I think it's going to happen a lot sooner than 5 years.
For Campus Report, this is Oliver Riggle.
The pressure groups and politicians have put immigration clearly on the minds of the electorate. All the talk, along with recent immigration and naturalization service raids on migrant workplaces, have made undocumented workers uneasy. Ana Sanchez reports that in comparison to other states, New Mexico provides migrant workers and their families with more services and opportunities.
Different nonprofit organizations have been funded to create a strong voice for the immigrant community and to ensure that migrant workers' constitutional rights are protected regardless of their country of origin or documented status. El Centro de Igualdad y Derechos, or the Center for Equality and Rights, and Somos un Pueblo Unido, or We Are a United Community, are two such organizations. Elsa Lopez is the head organizer of Somos un Pueblo Unido.
We are 13 years old. We were formed in 1995 here in Santa Fe.
And Raquel Lazar is the director for el Centro de Igualdad y Derechos.
El Centro de Igualdad y Derechos was born or was founded in November of 2005. There was a broader need in the community to focus on policy issues, institutional change, as well as to have a membership-based grassroots organization where immigrants themselves could have their voice heard.
These two organizations advocate on behalf of the immigrant community in New Mexico, but they also want to create a more tolerant and humane living environment through consciousness raising and education.
How can we balance those needs, right? The economic needs of this country, but at the same time, how can we set up a humane and fair system for families? We can't only see people as laborers, right, or as products. We have to see people as human beings and as part of families that have played a very important role here locally and across the country as well.
Both organizations recognize that the immigration system is not working.
The current immigration system is not working. And it's not working for anyone, right? It's not working for immigrants that have to risk their lives, that have to live under a shadow of fear and exploitation. It's also not necessarily working for our economy that constantly needs labor coming in.
Each of these organizations has accomplished different objectives that have made great improvements for New Mexico immigrants seeking an education.
We became in 2005 the 10th state to grant in-state tuition to undocumented immigrants and the 3rd state to grant scholarships to undocumented immigrants. And those scholarships have to be funded through the general fund, through the state fund in New Mexico.
With a foreign-born population around 9%, the state has adopted a legislation allowing immigrants to drive.
We were the lead organization here in Albuquerque that worked on that to ensure that the issuance of driver's licenses were expanded to immigrants regardless of their immigration status.
Lazar credits the state's history with making it more immigrant-friendly.
There's always been circular and cyclical migration that takes place in our state. We have obvious ties, cultural ties to Mexico. We have some of the most progressive anti-discriminatory policies in the country when dealing with issues of education, driver's license, law enforcement issues, but we still have a ways to go.
For Campus Reports, this is Ana Sanchez.
UNM journalism professor Richard Schaefer joins us to talk about immigration and how New Mexico figures into the big immigration picture of the United States. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here.
So now tell me, you're a professor of journalism. How did you get involved with immigration?
Well, we had some Mexican students from central Mexico come up here for 2 years. And so what we did was last summer, we went down there and studied the issue. And we're going to go back again. It was a great experience. It was all done in Spanish. It was wonderful.
Wonderful. Now, are students going to be coming up here?
Oh yeah, we'll have students up here in April.
Fascinating. So now
working with you.
Working with us. Wonderful. Yes. I can't wait. Now, New Mexico, a lot of people think of it as being an immigrant state as it is 44% Hispanic. Is that necessarily true?
No, we're not a heavy immigrant state. We're about 9% foreign-born, whereas the population across the United States now, foreign-born, is 13%.
Huh, okay.
The highest we've ever been was 14% about 110 years ago, so very different.
Things have changed since.
Yeah.
All right, now immigration in the economy, nationwide, more specifically New Mexico, how does it impact it? Does it at all?
Oh, sure. In every state where there's immigrants, it's been good for the economy, generally. Some people may be hurt a teeny bit by it, but generally speaking, the poor get lifted by a new set of poor people coming in. And that's the case in every state, but because we're a low immigrant state, where we actually don't have as much lift as some states do.
So it's a good thing for the economy, in other words.
It's a good thing for New Mexico, and it's a good thing for the United States.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
With the addition of new parking structures, lights on Johnson Field, and several new buildings, the University of New Mexico campus keeps growing. But UNM President David Schmidley and the School of Architecture and Planning would like to rethink just how various pieces of the campus fits together. So last fall, they organized a meeting to brainstorm on how to make the campus more functional. Danielle Bloch reports.
UNM Professor of Community and Regional Planning, James Richardson, said sustainability will be shaping our world.
Probably the most important thing that will affect our lives. We may want to deny it, we may want to figure out what to do instead of it, but I think it's relentless. I think that it's going to shape what we do through the marketplace, shape what we do through the government regulations, and shape what we do through our own creative spirit if we take advantage of it.
Given the importance of sustainability, senior consultant and planner Ron Kull asked how UNM students' commute time could be reduced. Kull said that students' commute time could be reduced by students parking on the same side of campus that they live on. So if students live on the south side of Albuquerque, they would park on the south side of campus. Kull also said he wants the campus to be more convenient for visitors. Moving the bookstore near the Student Union building and having the visitor center replace it would bring spatial logic to the campus.
That maybe instead of having the bookstore out here, that the bookstore go up to the Student Union. And this becomes a visitor welcome center, so that it is right at the edge of campus where people can actually see it and connect to it. So it's easy to get to and easy to find your way around campus.
Founder of Atkin, Olshin, Schade, architects of Philadelphia and Santa Fe, Tony Atkin, said that adding 4,000 beds on campus would increase social interaction and reduce the commuter campus image that UNM has.
The density would be fantastic, that you achieve a kind of level where you can really have some student activity and some pleasurable interaction with your fellow students.
In addition, Kull said that potential students largely judge their projected UNM experience based on the dormitories.
This is what you're judged on. Students come and see what the experience is going to be like at the University of New Mexico. This is a huge part of what they think about.
If UNM is successful at recruiting new students, Professor of Architecture Kristina Yu said a new recreational center at UNM would be like a living room that could be used by students and non-students.
It's an exciting time because in some ways the recreational center is the large living room, at least the indoor living room of the campus.
The goal of the charrette was to further exploration, dialogue, and discovery for campus development. It produced numerous creative ideas to meet the needs of a growing university, though these ideas do not necessarily have university approval. This is Danielle Bloch reporting.
Well, I wonder where they should put the new bar on campus. Maybe next to the C&J building.
Hey, as long as you get a discount with our low ID, I'm all for it.
So am I.
I'm Justin Goodrum.
And I'm Katixa Mercier. Cheers, and thanks for watching.